Welcome to episode 2 of Kaleidoscope Orchestra Stories. This episode is all about Flux Pavilion. So Flux Pavilion is an incredible DJ. He's an amazing producer of electronic dance music. He's collaborated with artists like Childish Gambino, The Prodigy, Dylan Francis, Steve Aoki, and his track I Can't Stop was actually sampled by Jay-Z and Kanye West on their album Watch the Throne. So this story starts way back in 2010. I was really getting into dubstep. I was going to a lot of dubstep nights. One in particular was Hit and Run in Manchester, which a friend of mine, Rich Reason, promotes and puts on. And I was really inspired by a lot of the music I was hearing. I was seeing legendary DJs like Plastician, MJ Cole, DJ Fresh, Netsky. And at the same time, Tom Dibb, a friend of mine, said, do you want to DJ a dubstep night in a club in Rotherham, which is where we're from? So we met up and did a bit of research. We thought we'd better get to know dubstep, from a DJ point of view. And Tom had found this track called Stink Finger by Dr. P and Flux Pavilion. So we did a bit of research and found Flux Pavilion on a compilation. It was UKF Dubstep 2010, and a couple of his remixes, Cracks and Gold Dust, was on there, and we listened to them, and I remember us both with the bass face on like, oh, that's amazing. And we DJ'd those tracks that night. They went down really well. I don't know if we went down really well, but the tracks went down really well. And so I started researching Flux Pavilion a bit more, and not long after that, he released his debut EP, Lines in Wax. And I listened to that EP, I think it came out in October 2010. And on there were tracks like Haunt You, Hold Me Close, Lines in Wax, and of course, I Can't Stop. It was an incredible experience listening to this EP, but I couldn't stop thinking, wow, this would work really well in an orchestra. And so I started working on an arrangement of I Can't Stop. It was just a small orchestra arrangement, I think one of each wind, small string section, drums, bass, guitar, and keys. But there was no real output, there was no way of hearing the arrangement until 2011, when we kind of formed the orchestra. And we recorded the session and I played it to Rich Reason and he loved it. And so we started collaborating on some tunes, but he also had a night coming up and he said, it'd be great to have the orchestra perform at this event. And so I put a set together, we got the players together, I got a friend of mine, Sam Parry, to come and MC and kind of host the orchestra, and we did this gig. And it was incredible to see the idea working live, seeing that we didn't need tracks, we didn't need playback, it could all be done live with the instruments of the orchestra. And then in 2012, Flux Pavilion's track Daydreamer, which featured Example, came out, and I thought this has got to happen. And then he released his EP, I think in 2013, his EP Blow the Roof. And again, each tune I listened to, I just thought this has got to be done. And so I started working on the Flux Pavilion Suite. And so I really wanted to build on those musical techniques that I'd kind of explored in the Skrillex Suite. And the main one was taking the melodies of the original tunes and changing them slightly and developing them to create a new piece of music. I didn't want it to be just a medley of straight covers, one tune to the next. I wanted it to become a suite, a piece of music. And so I took the main riff from I Can't Stop, the I Can't Stop, and I wanted to kind of develop it and change it. I wanted to change where it lands in the bar. I wanted to keep the rhythm so that you could identify with it, but then change some of the intervals, some of the pitches, so that I could modulate the piece and take it somewhere else. So they're kind of standard classical music techniques, taking a fragment, a melody, and developing it and playing with it and kind of allowing the music to grow through that little fragment. I was spoilt for choice with the number of amazing tunes that I knew would work for an orchestra. And so again, I used some tunes as just transitional material. So I used I Feel It as a way to get from Starlight to Hold Me Close. It's interesting looking back now, and I know I've kind of learnt a lot since writing this suite. And one thing is that the transitions are a lot shorter now. But again, it was a part of the development. It was part of me exploring how this kind of music could translate into a very classical world. And so with Hold Me Close, I really didn't have to get that creative with the music because all the parts were really there in the original track. It's just a matter of going, that's bassoon, that's clarinet, that's the strings or whatever. But as a piece of music, it works perfectly as an orchestral piece. I'm a big fan of the Ninth Symphony by Dvorak, the New World Symphony. It's actually the symphony that contains the music that they used for the Hovis bread advert. But in the fourth movement, there's this epic kind of build and drop. Well, I'd call it a build and drop. The orchestra kind of builds towards this amazing triplety rhythmic section. And for some reason, when I was kind of orchestrating Hold Me Close, I just couldn't stop thinking about that piece. And so I kind of borrowed a lot of the ideas and really used that as an influence. And also in 2012, I'd actually been kind of experimenting with dubstep versions of classical pieces, and I actually did a dubstep remix of this Dvorak symphony. And so the drop in Hold Me Close is, again, quite obvious, really. You've got this very distinctive kind of wobble, grimy, dirty bass sound on the original track. Really, for me, the only instrument who could do that is the bass trombone and double basses and bassoon. So it was that lower kind of EQ, those lower instruments, that were going to have this real drive behind the rhythm of the piece. And I didn't want to repeat those 8 bars again. I wanted to be as creative and imaginative as I could with the orchestra. So I changed things up in the next 8 bars, and the drive comes from the upper strings, who are playing these Bartok pizzas. Now Bartok pizz is kind of or a snap pizz, is where the player pings the string as hard as they can, basically, and it slaps back on the instrument, so you get this kind of like snap sound. And so I kept with the pizzicato. I've got this kind of transition from the triplety feel to a straight feel. And so I introduced the melody from Double Edge over the kind of rhythm and the pizzicato of Hold Me Close. I get quite excited about bringing melodies from other tunes over the kind of harmony of another tune. I get excited about the fact that someone will be sitting there going, oh, okay, yeah, I know this one, I know where this is going, or I recognise that, or whatever. I think that's what makes it really exciting and really different. And as it got towards the end of the suite, I was kind of panicking that there were all these tunes I hadn't featured. And so I came up with this idea of combining 3 tunes over each other. And so we've got this kind of finale section where you've got each family of the orchestra playing a different tune. So the woodwind are playing the main riff from Haunt You, which is kind of a vocal sample on the original. The brass are kind of playing bits of I Can't Stop. And the strings are playing the main riffs from Daydreamer. And I just thought it worked well as a way to kind of build to this epic kind of climax. I often feel quite cheeky taking, someone else's music and kind of tweaking it and developing it and changing it. There's always that element, particularly just as I'm about to print the music, where I think, who am I to change this music and do something different with it? But again, it all comes back to this passion for bringing classical music, orchestral music, together with electronic dance music. And so, like with the Skrillex Suite, we set a date, got all the players together, and then we recorded the Flux Pavilion Suite. And so I spent the next 7 days mixing it with a good friend of mine, David Jones, who recorded the orchestra on that occasion. I edited the video, put it all together, and on the 23rd of March, uploaded it to YouTube. And honestly, I was hoping for a similar reaction to the Skrillex one. I was hoping that Flux Pavilion would get the suite, be able to watch it, maybe share it on his social media. And so I emailed his management, or his agency, Maximum Boost, on the 25th of March, and got an instant kind of reply saying, this is incredible, we'll pass it on. And then the next day, I got this email from Flux Pavilion. And again, I was so thrilled to receive this email from this guy who I never thought I'd be able to contact. And his enthusiasm was inspiring to me, and it started a dialogue. We started chatting about perhaps collaborating on new material, and it was amazing to me that, he was as interested in bringing the two genres together, bringing an orchestra to electronic dance music. He was as excited as I was. So over the next year, we were having conversations, he sent me tracks, and then he said, right, I want the orchestra to record these tracks for my album. And so then the following year we got the orchestra back together to record some videos. Josh wanted to record these acoustic orchestra only versions with the vocals. And it was so strange when he walked through the door, because again, I was a bit of a fanboy. There was this guy that I'd just discovered his music, became a fan of, and then suddenly I was in the room with him. And again, his enthusiasm and his passion for classical music and bringing it to electronic dance music was amazing. 1, 2. So thanks for watching this episode. I hope it's been interesting and enjoyable. It's been fascinating for me to actually go through the archives and figure out what the story is behind this suite. I think these videos make it seem like it's a clear path from idea to finished product, but as writers and composers and musicians and all creatives know, it's not a clear path, it's never a clear path. And so it's exciting for me to figure out how I got from A to B. But if you've got any questions or comments, do get in touch. Leave a comment below the video or get in touch with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. But thanks again for watching. So if you did enjoy the video, please click the like button, and we'd also love it if you'd subscribe to our channel. Make sure you click the bell icon so that you get a notification when we upload new content. And if you've got any questions or anything, just leave a comment and we'll get back to you. Thanks.